live from Manchester, New Hampshire. Well, I do not think that Prime Minister Netanyahu could have done a better job of executing this war from the time that it began as a response to the sneak attack of October 7th on not on Israel, but on women and children. The barbaric attack of the group that is loved by those who hate us, the left wing, Hamas, including the Hamas-loving mayor and first lady of New York, that turns my stomach. But the reality is that Israel is systematically decapitating them. Their strategy has been to go after their leaders. Every day, every night, there's another one gone. The question I always had was, how many of them are actually suicidal? And the fact is, it looks like a lot of them are, which makes the idea that they have nuclear weapons that much more frightening. So let's listen to Bibi as he outlines where we are and where we're going. We might as well get it from the real source.
That's right. So this is Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu today, speaking from, we believe he was in Jerusalem. No, I can't. Sorry about that. We're about to play this clip right now. This is Bibi Netanyahu today from Jerusalem.
With Iran. Does anyone, and I want to close these opening remarks with one other fake news, and that is that Israel somehow dragged the U.S. into a conflict with Iran. Does anyone really think that someone can tell President Trump what to do? Come on. President Trump always makes his decisions on what he thinks is good for America, and may I add, I think what is also good for future generations. In this case, those interests are absolutely clear, and so is the clarity of our achievements. Together in close coordination with President Trump, the close coordination between America and Israel, our militaries, our intelligence services, we're achieving goals in lightning speed.
Thank you, the best prime minister of the 20th century, 21st. Best prime minister of the 20th century, Winston Churchill, the best prime minister of the 21st century, Bibi Netanyahu. And I don't think it'll be exceeded for the rest of the century. Certainly not in England. They're not going to have prime ministers anymore. They're going to have ayatollahs pretty soon. And you know how they used to select the Archbishop of Canterbury?
Yep.
Great part of T.S. Eliot's play, Murder in the Cathedral. It's going to be Ayatollah, the chief Ayatollah in charge of Great Britain. That's what, very soon.
How will the Queen feel about that?
Well, I don't know. The Queen's dead, but the King, Charles, who knows what he was always kind of a lefty, right? He was like a big greenie, wasn't he? Yeah. So I don't know how he feels. I don't have a recollection of the dedication or installation or coronation or whatever you call the putting the Archbishop of Canterbury in his spot. But does the king crown him? Does the king crown him?
I'm the wrong guy to ask. Does the king crown?
I don't think so.
I don't believe so.
I think he probably has something to say about it. He is technically the head of the Church of England. That's a really good thing. That's really a big move by Henry VIII when he wanted to dump Anne Boleyn. I don't know, I never understood why he chopped her head off. he got his divorce by leaving the Catholic Church. So, no, I mean, he got his divorce from Catherine of Aragon by leaving the church. And then he chopped her head off. And I don't know. Of course, history is always somewhat unreliable because you weren't there. And the theory is that he got rid of Anne Boleyn because his staff was playing him and making it look like she was having affairs, including having had sex with her brother, all of which is historically disputed. But that's not to say he didn't believe it, right, at the time, largely because maybe he wanted to believe it. But whatever Henry VIII did to England in creating a king-dominated religion, which just brings church and state a little bit too close together, I don't think he's going to be able to accomplish that with the Muslim religion. I don't think they're going to listen to King Charles. He doesn't fit into the Mohammed pattern. So we'll have to see. These are not jokes, and these are not exaggerated warnings. These are extremely serious situation that the country's going Muslim, and somebody has to do something. Somebody has to do something about it, because you're going to lose. You're going to lose a big chunk of the West. So the Ayatollahs and whoever, I have a hard time with this because I really don't know how to describe who's making the decisions. The Ayatollah isn't, right? He's dead. The new one doesn't appear. So I don't know. When I say Ayatollah, am I referring to him? For some reason, they really have it in for the Emirates. And they're hitting the Emirates over and over and over and over again. They've hit the Emirates more than Israel. And as far as I know, the Emirates haven't hit back. Nor has Qatar, nor has Bahrain, nor has Oman. However, that doesn't say that it is working. The theory of that, to the extent that it had any theory, was that they would force Trump to the bargaining table because he wants to be popular with them. And if he doesn't do something about stopping this war, he's going to be very unpopular. Since they're not normal human beings, they don't calculate a normal human being's reaction to being bombed by a totalitarian dictator. Their reaction is, boy, we made a terrible mistake. Oh, my goodness. We need independent forces to protect us. I'm sure that wherever they're letting missiles or drones or whatever planes get through, this is the part of the reason. So I don't know I don't know what to tell Britain. Not that they listen to me, but it's always good to have your ideas articulated. I don't know what I would tell them about how to solve and confront this important issue to the future survival of England as we know it, because it's unraveling. It's no doubt unraveling, and a lot of it has to do with going right after the ringleaders and letting them have it. That's extremely important. Extremely important. And the president is taking every bit of advantage, every bit of advantage of that in the right way. So we do hope that sometime quickly we do something about this Charge Island, because it is holding up the oil in large abundance coming out. It's doing a certain amount of damage anyway, but it's leaving loopholes for the Iranian dictators to escape. We got to close those down, and it's a hard thing. And figure out the good and the bad, the people we can take into the governments there who will be loyal to the cause of getting rid of the Islamic Republic of Iran, and people who support us. We sure as heck don't want to be spending a lot of money and sending out people who are going to double cross us the way Biden and Obama did any number of times. Do you have any news, guys, about any of the countries relenting and now saying they're going to help us? Did Japan do that?
Well, we have Japan.
Did Japan do that? Am I accurate in saying that?
Yeah. So
I'm
these are
interpreting it as yes.
Yeah, so these are reports. We're trying to nail it down, but my understanding is Japan, Britain, France, Germany, Italy, and the Netherlands have at least indicated and pledged. Really, the word "pledge" is being thrown around. Their support to securing the strait. What that means is yet to be determined, but we're looking into this.
Well, it's better than where England was. So you heard that. So
Here it is. Here's a letter from the 6 countries we just named, condemning Iran and expressing their readiness to contribute.
When was that?
Today. Efforts to secure safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz, and I'll read some of this off for you, Mayor. We got it up on the screen. This is the letter, and it reads in part. Let's see if we can bring this up here. This is Britain, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and the Netherlands. Quote, we condemn in the strongest terms the recent attacks by Iran on unarmed commercial vessels in the Gulf, attacks on civilian infrastructure, including oil and gas installations, and the de facto closure of the Strait of Hormuz by Iranian forces. But I want to try to get to the meat here. They say near the end, we will work to provide support for the most affected nations, including through the United Nations and the IFIs. Maritime security and freedom of navigation benefit all countries. We call on all states to respect international law and uphold the fundamental principles of international prosperity and security. Consistent with UN Security Council Resolution 2817, we emphasize that such interference with international shipping and the disruption of global energy supply chains constitute a threat to international peace and security. In this regard, we call for an immediate comprehensive moratorium on attacks on civilian infrastructure, including oil and gas installations. We express our readiness to contribute to appropriate efforts to ensure safe passage through the strait. We welcome the commitment of nations who are engaging in preparatory plans.
That goes further than the European leaders who wouldn't do that.
Well,
they're a little ambiguous on whether we have a right to do this or not, but they're not ambiguous on the fact that they should participate with the ones who are ill or sick or can't have the ones that you've got to realize that there's a tremendous amount of humanitarian issues going on within Iran. And I don't know if it can be dealt with better than it was dealt with in Gaza, where it wasn't dealt with well. But it wasn't dealt with well because the Palestinian government blocked doing it, not because the Israelis didn't want to do it.
Right.
So that hasn't come up, has it?
No,
In this one.
not in this one.
I haven't seen any of that. Well, the casualties on the Iranian side are pretty high, and they do list more civilians than soldiers killed, which I think is propaganda.
Right.
Well, do we have that to play?
What's that?
What we were looking for.
So, we have. Do you want to talk? We want to go into Japan's press conference today.
Yes.
Okay. So today, the president.
You can't miss this. If you may have seen it on the earlier show. If you did, you'll enjoy it a second time.
The joke you wanted.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's what would you call that? A joke?
He's laughing at the question.
It was light sarcasm.
He's laughing at the critics, right?
You think it was inappropriate?
No,
No.
not inappropriate, because what he's doing, it's not a, and I mischaracterized it. This isn't a joke about what happened back in 1940.
No.
This is meant to, he's hitting at this reporter's question, you know, and he probably knows this reporter. They're just trying to like create a rift between Trump and the new prime minister. Why aren't you telling our allies? And the president, he's quick-witted, just like the mayor, had the right response immediately.
And it makes a good point.
Yep.
Here we go.
Good friend, but one question, why didn't you tell US allies in Europe and Asia, like Japan, about the war before attacking Iran? So we are very confused about we Japanese citizens.
Well, one thing, you don't want to signal too much. You know, when we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay? Right?
So we don't.
Right. We'll take a short break, and we'll be right back so we can pay the bills.
It's a good idea for a capitalist. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. Well, it's nice to be back. Having my sandwich.
Sorry about that. I gotta play another. We gotta play another commercial. I just have a lot going on. All right,
I hope
we'll
you
be right
enjoy it.
back. Debate. My question is: the sign says, the fascist Trump regime must go.
Yeah.
And so I'm just curious what makes him a
Are
fascist.
you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax, channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. Well, it's nice to be back with you. This is Rudy Giuliani. This is America's Mayor Live. We have a guest returning who is a person very, very knowledgeable. He's Iranian American and very knowledgeable on Iran. He is at the California State University at San Marco. He's a professor of engineering, but he is quite knowledgeable about the history and the politics and the present very, very dramatic situation in Iran that could lead to final deliverance from this monster and into a very, very good government, both for the people of Iran and the expatriates who have been expatriates for so long. My goodness. Matthew Tasooji. Matthew, tell us again your just a teeny bit of history so that people understand your connection to Iran.
Surely. Thank you very much, Mayor. First of all, good evening to you and all the folks that are with you. I know you have thousands of followers, and thank you very much. And you have quite a follower back home too, because of what you have done for the Iranian people, not now, but for the past 10, 15 years.
Oh, thank you.
You've always been a true speaker of what needs to be done in Iran. So I thank you for that. By the way, my Persian is Mohammed Hussein Tasooji, as you had mentioned before.
Your name is Mohammed or Matthew, right?
Well, when I became an American citizen, I changed.
It was Matthew, yeah.
Right. There are so many Mohammeds, as you know.
There are, aren't there? I mean, it is amazing.
1 billion Mohammeds, maybe. It's the most popular name globally. Yeah, so I, just a little bit background, I graduated from high school back in 1973, and that's when I came to the States to study. I did finish my undergrad at USC, University of Southern California, with engineering degree, and then I went to Stanford. I did my master's in engine economic systems, and then I did my doctorate work at USC in electrical engineering communication system, basically wireless communication. So I was involved in some of the designs and promotion of the US-based technology, which is now the foundation of all the wireless communication. That's spread spectrum that we use in military before, and satellite communication for secure communication. I was in academia most of my life. I teach at Casa San Marcos, and I was heading a startup company. I worked for many different companies like Nokia, Ericsson, Qualcomm, and now I teach at university. Actually, I teach in the business department. I teach different courses in statistics, data analytics, operation management, and so on. So I've been involved with the Iranian movement to bring a democratic and secular republic to Iran for almost all of my life since I came to the States. Initially, of course, we were under the dictatorship of the king, Shah Mohammad Reza Shah, where Savak was notorious in arresting any person that was in opposition to him. He had a one-party system towards the end, and basically abolished most of the rights of people. I mean, there were some definitely civil freedoms, but political freedoms wasn't there none so ever.
Right.
And then, of course, after the revolution, I did go back home for a short period, but then I figured out that working with the mullahs would be impossible for somebody that is, as Western educated, has views of democracy and pluralism and whatnot. If you don't strictly obey what they say and the Islamic laws and whatnot, I knew that it was impossible. Unfortunately, I lost many friends back home. They were executed, arrested, and whatnot. And we can talk more about that if you want to. But that's it. Brief history about who I am.
But now, where is your understanding now of where things are from your ability to talk to people there and here and
Sure.
being active in the community?
Absolutely. So I can say, as a matter of fact, for a fact, that the Iranian people are not unhappy about the demise of Ayatollah and elimination of all these ruthless, savage, barbaric Revolutionary Guard commanders and whatnot. Mayor, you know that in January of this year, there was a quite big uprising that in matter of 2 days, they shut down the internet, all the communication, and these people gunned down tens of thousands of people. I mean, reports, as you just mentioned in your previous program, when I was a guest, reports are from 12,000 to 50,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing numbers of people, however, whatever they turn out to be. I mean, probably never know for sure, but
true. And
a lot of
not only that, they were executing people that were being treated in the hospital from gun wounds and whatnot, even arresting the nurses and the doctors that were helping these people. On top of that, 50,000 people were arrested, and many of them now are being executed under the disguise of or pretext of that they are spies for Mossad or whatnot. So people, and this is not only just the past few months. Since inception of the Islamic Republic, this regime has been basically terrorizing its people. Any dissent has been ruthlessly uprooted. Suppression has been ongoing. Women have been turned into second-class citizens. So this is not something new. Based on that, I can tell you that Iranian people in general are not unhappy with what has happened to Ayatollahs and the commanders and whatnot. Now, the situation is in Iran, of course, it's a war. There's shortages. A lot of people are worried about their future and whatnot. But if you remember, in the previous program, it was like 3-4 days before United States and Israel attacked Iran or commenced attacks. We talked about that. And I mentioned to you that you're going to hear good news. And that was when 150 members of MEK stormed the Ayatollah Khamenei's compound. That unfortunately, about close to 90 of them were either killed or captured, and some 150, 160 retreated. That's the same compound that later the forces, the American and Israelis, bombed, and Ayatollah Khamenei was killed. I also mentioned in that discussion that we had, and I firmly believe this, that the air power itself cannot solve the problem. If we want to have stability in the region, if we want to have peace, we have to solve this problem from its root. We have to eliminate the despotic regime that is in Iran.
Right.
We have to have a regime change.
How much of that has been done, do you think?
I think the conditions are right now. However, without boots on the ground, it cannot happen. And I don't believe that U.S. nor Israelis should commit any boots on the ground. I firmly believe that it will have negative effect. Look what happened in Libya. Look what happened in Iraq. Look what had happened in Afghanistan. First of all, it's very costly for our nation, America, to spend another maybe $1 trillion to maybe even more to have boots on the ground, secure, change the regime and whatnot. Number one. Number two, Iran is much larger than Iraq. Iran is not Afghanistan. You see that despite the fact that many top commanders have been eliminated, Iranian regime, Islamic regime, has been working on their chain of command for the past 47 years. They have learned a lot of things. A lot of these revolutionary commanders, lower rank commanders, are kind of acting autonomously. And that's why you see that despite almost 3 weeks of heavy bombardment, still missiles are flying, missiles being attacked. So what needs to happen is a force from within Iran that has capability, that has boots in the ground, that has forces to be to basically mobilize the population in conjunction with everybody, especially with Iranian national groups like Kurds, like Baluchis, like Turkmens, like Arabs, like Azerbaijanis, to form a coalition that can overthrow the government. I'm very happy and glad to say that this has already started. As you know, 5 Kurdish groups, and now one joined last, I think, few days ago, 6 Kurdish groups, mainly Kurdish Democratic Party of Iranian Kurdistan, and Kumelay and others joined group. And they also formed a coalition with National Council of Resistance, whom I know you are very familiar with.
How would people go about contacting them or becoming part of those groups if they wanted to be?
I think there are resistance groups within Iran. They have cells in Iran that they can contact. I mean, you have to be. This is very, very, of course, a sensitive area. You cannot just just say call this phone number or send a message to this. It's they have to contact the cells in Iran, and they're doing that. So those part of the activities which is happening, they're clandestine. I am not aware of, and I cannot, even if I was aware, I wouldn't be able to divulge. But I can tell you that there's a huge network of these cells that have been active. As a matter of fact, yesterday, the Secretary of State, Foreign Minister, if you want to call it, Mr. Mohaddessin, announced the formation of National Liberation Army of Iran in Brussels. That now all the armed groups would coalesce under one command structure inside Iran. That's the solution. Boots on the ground from a foreign government, I think, is A, too costly, and B, I don't think it has proven to be fruitful based on the past.
You think it can be done without that?
Absolutely. Mayor, what we see now, the reason that United States had to take this action is the result of I think, misguided appeasement policy that West has taken towards the regime.
Right. That's a very good point.
When we, National Liberation Army, in the borders of Iran, if you look at in 2003, when Allied forces overtook Saddam's regime and basically occupied Iraq, National Liberation Army of Iran had over 250 tanks. They had artilleries. They had all the weaponaries. And these weapons were given to United States armed forces because, NLA, National Liberation Army of Iran, was not at war with USA. It's at war with Iran. So they agreed for to give the arms to the United States Army, and then they protect them. Which unfortunately, when Maliki came to power, a few times they attacked the compound. Many of them were killed. Many members of MEK and National Liberation Army were killed. So this shows you the capability of this group. So once they are armed and there are activities in that regards, I can assure you that the regime will be toppled. I have every confidence that would take place very soon. But no more appeasement. During President Clinton's presidency, MEK was put in the list of foreign terrorist groups, if you recall. And Madam Albright, who was the Secretary of the State, mentioned we did this as an appeasement policy towards the President of Iran, Khatami, right? It took 15 years for the MEK through legal channels.
Yes, I was part of it. Yeah,
exactly, to take their name off this. So this means that instead of supporting the legitimate opposition that is asking for democracy, secular republic in Iran, and non-nuclear Iran, a government that supports the separation of church and state.
So a lot of people put cold water on that because they say it's they have a hard time seeing how you get from here to there. And I know, but I want you to tell us how. We have Madam Rajavi. We have a whole group of people that are ready with her to take interim positions in government to guide a transition, not a government, but a transition.
Exactly. So actually, sorry, Mayor, please go ahead. No, so actually, this Saturday there was a big Zoom presentation on this transition government, which were many dignitaries, many politicians, and Madame Rajavi were present. I had the honor of being also present via Zoom, virtually. That Madame Rajavi expressed. The plan is, you have to first topple the regime. Who topples the regime? The regime is toppled by the forces in Iran that have capability. I believe National Council of Resistance and the coalition that is formed by Iranian nationalities, Kurds and whatnot, is capable of doing that. However, when there is a war, this is very challenging. If there is your country is being bombed by other countries, right? It creates a lot of difficulties to do that. However, even as we speak, the resistance units, the National Liberation Army units, are very active in Kurdistan, in southern part of Iran, right, and in Tehran. I mean, there has been 3,500 actions by the cells that are in Tehran just last year. So
is there a breaking point where the IRGC will put down their guns? Are there, what did you say, about 190,000 IRGC? Is that about right?
The estimates are between 200 and 300, yes. And then there are 40,000.
300.
Well, that's the estimate. So they never publish the true numbers and whatnot. So, but you have to understand that once the movement starts, there will be a lot of desertion. Desertions have already started happening. If you check the checkpoint crossing between Afghanistan and Iran in Balochistan part of Iran, many young guys, which are all Revolutionary Guards, covering their face with masks, with their passports, are leaving the country. This is happening. So once the regime is toppled, the plan is a transitional government. This transitional government will, which is what we have proposed, of course, is Madam Rajavi as president-elect for that 6 months. transition period. And the primary task is to make the Constitutional Assembly to be selected by people, elected by people. People have to vote for the Constitutional Assembly, and then that assembly would decide on the future of Iran. Madam Rajavi has very clear plans, 10-point plans that you are very well familiar with: separation of church and state, freedom for all the religious minorities, ethnic groups, non-nuclear Iran, free market economy, and no to execution, no more execution, capital punishment is abolished in Iran, and among other things. Then the true representatives of the people would decide what should be. Unlike Mr. Reza Pahlavi, that nowadays a lot of he's trying to make a name for himself. He calls himself king. He calls himself, I am the representative for the transition period, but I'm the king. Which king accepts a transition period? You tell me. Oxymoron.
Yeah,
it's absolutely. The gentleman, unfortunately, has lived here 47 years, which is okay, but has no credibility to show us what he has done, what managerial skills you have. You don't have to be a politician, but you have to be a very successful business person, like the president that is sitting in the office.
So where do you think we are now on that possibility, getting there, and what has to be done to get us there? What do you think are the 2 or 3 most important things that could be done so that we end up with a popular group, meaning of the people, taking over, drafting a constitution, and then putting an election in effect?
Of course, that's a $1 million question, but I have my opinion. Number one, West has to recognize that there is a viable alternative that is striving for a democratic regime in Iran, and that's National Council of Resistance and the coalition that I formed. National Council of Resistance does not say that I am going to rule the country. National Council of Resistance says my responsibility is for the first 6 months after overthrow of the regime to help form the Constitutional Assembly, and then after that, people decide. That's number one. They have to realize that. Number two, I think the hostilities should stop. I think if there's war, not that only both sides are suffering. People in Israel are dying. People in Iran are dying. People in Persian Gulf region are dying. So there's a lot of suffering by the people. So we always maintain, even in my previous discussion with you, I said the war is no solution, if you recall that. I said that in your program, that I don't think the war is solution. I maintain that the war is solution. What is done is done. The situation maybe is a lot more right now with the elimination of Ayatollah and other commanders, and it can be done. The West should come to that conclusion that a regime change, replacing this regime, not with another dictator like monarchy. It didn't work. During the Shah, it didn't work. But with a true secular democratic republic government, we can have peace and stability in the region.
Before we get off, I'm going to have to ask you, Doctor, this. The big question right now is what to do about the island. And in order to, because the blockage of the Strait of Hormuz has an economic impact on certain countries more than others, not on the U.S. as much, but on certain countries more than others. It constitutes a lot of pressure to get the war over with, and maybe to cut corners in order to do that. That would be terrible, because this is the only opportunity to really get rid of it. But what do you think should be done with that? Hormuz? How do we get to the point where we can get ships going through there? Do we have to destroy the oil deposits? Do we have to put troops? I mean, what has to be done?
No, I think that's more of a military question than a political
I know. Just
question.
your opinion.
However, you have to understand, occupying Khark Island doesn't help the Strait of Hormuz. I'm glad that 6 countries now are saying that we should take action. You just, before our program, you mentioned that, to secure the Strait of Hormuz for safe passage of all these oils. Remember, Iranian regime, if they can't sell oil, they have no income whatsoever. And the oil that they sold was all used for what you see now, for the missiles, for pursuing atomic weapons and whatnot. Iranian military budget officially was 16% of GDP. Unofficially, it's close to 50%. Because IRGC had its 1/3 of oil they could on their own sell without reporting to anybody. United States government, which has the mightiest military ever assembled globally, has only 5%, I guess, if I'm not mistaken, of their GDP devoted to military. Iran officially at 16, unofficially maybe 40, 50%.
Wow.
So we have to stop allowing Iranian oil to be exported unless it is really helping the people, which is not. Number two, again, the solution is recognizing the alternative for this regime, the democratic alternative. The moment West recognizes National Council of Resistance and the coalition as the viable alternative, as the alternative to this regime, you will see how much change will happen in Iran. You will see how desertion would start, even at the highest level. I think that's crucial. And unfortunately, West media has not done a good job in that.
They're way off. That's why I need to talk to people like you who have a sense of what's really going on, so that the people in America can get a sense of what's really going on.
Mayor, if I may, I was doing my taxes yesterday. My tax accountant is a very good friend. He's of Jewish faith. He's not Iranian, and we always talk politics. He's very, and he says, Matthew, I don't understand. Mohammed, I don't understand. 40, 50,000 Iranians were slaughtered in 2 days. I didn't hear anything in media. And now, very unfortunate that a school was bombed. It's very sad. It's nobody can condone that.
Of course not. It was obviously not it was not on purpose.
Yeah, everybody's all over the media that blah blah blah. Says what can you say? I said I don't know. I don't know how to answer. That the media has been sort of boycotting the true resistance of the Iranian people. It's been going on for the past 40 years. And again, that's only because of the policy of appeasement. If we put away policy of appeasement, recognize that there's a genuine alternative that is capable, that has formed a coalition with the largest national group in Iran after Azerbaijanis. Azerbaijanis are hoping, like Kurds. Kurds have 100,000 people under arm. You know that. Kurds have, there's about 5-6 million Kurds, but there's about 100 young people.
Do you think they would make a difference if they joined directly in this?
They have joined, and they've started activities. Mayor, this time, if you come out, you have to finish the job. That's if forces come out, National Resistance Forces, Liberation Army, they have to go all the way and finish the job.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there's no choice. Otherwise, they're going to get killed.
You have to finish the job, and it was just a token of what they can do when they attack the compound of the Ayatollah Khamenei. That's just a token. So they're very, very capable. I can assure you that.
I think the attacks on all of the Arab countries have backfired on the regime, where they thought that might lead to pressure to end this. I think instead it's led to pressure to end them, because they could be doing this at any time again, because they're not based on any kind of rational principles. So I think that strategy backfired on them.
So, Mayor, again, the conclusion is there must be a regime change. Without a regime change, this will go on. If not now, 5 years from now, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So, and the regime change must be done by the Iranian people inside Iran. A foreign force, I don't see it happening at all in Iran, and I think it's too costly for everybody. But Iranian people are fed up. They're capable. I think Madame Rajavi is a very capable person to lead us for the transition with the transition government and 10-point plans that she had publicized for the past 6-7 years. And I think the coalition is forming, getting stronger. Declaration that there was a announcing that there was a National Liberation Army yesterday by NCR.
Well, that's good.
Yep. So
it's very, very good.
I'm very optimistic, Mayor. I'm very, very optimistic.
Good. But we're going to continue to check with you so we get some kind of realistic idea of what's going on in there. And thank you so much for giving us your time and good luck. We really hope this comes out the right way quickly.
Absolutely, Mayor. And first of all, thank you very much for hosting me, and thank you for speaking the truth about Iran and the potential that there is for I think a peaceful. Iranian people are very peaceful people in general. We always said we would love to live in peace and harmony with all the countries in the region and globally. Non-nuclear Iran that is declared is a very good indication of that.
Right.
So I'm very optimistic, hopeful that hopefully the media in the West would also come to their senses. For whatever reason, they have not been covering up the Iranian resistance, that soon it will change. But kudos to you and voices like you and programs like
you too.
Yeah.
God bless you.
God bless you too.
We'll see you very soon. Well, that was a very good sum up of where we are right now. It is without having the satellite imagery and everything else. It is really hard to assess the degree of damage or just how much Iran is on its knees right now. It could be less, it could be more, it could be what we think. And very often that's true in war. Either you underestimate it, overestimate it. More often than not, you underestimate it because it's more cautious to do that. Not necessarily what you might put out publicly, but what's going on inside. So I am very hopeful that a lot is going on inside to get them out of this. And they're going to, in a sneaky way, try to get out of it at some point with very, very incredible, meaning not worthy of belief, demands. So I think we have to be ready to turn those down and move right on to implementing the program that you have for interim government. I mean, that would make a very big difference, and it would start to move them out of any form of public influence. I told you quickly before, there are a lot of children of the regime of terror that are going to school in the United States. This is rather disturbing. You're going to recognize some of these names. I'll pick the one that. Let me pick the one that you're gonna get right off the top here. Fatima Ardeshir Larijani is a doctor at the university's prestigious Winship Institute until the university parted ways with her in January. Ardeshir Larijani is herself a cancer survivor and is the daughter of the now deceased Ala Larijani. So, I mean, that's one. Elisa Hashemi is an associate professor at the Chicago School. She's a professional psychologist. And she is related to Masmoud Ebtekar, who was formerly a member of the parliament, worked as a spokesperson for the student militants in who held the 52 diplomats. So this lady who was involved with our hostages is now in the United States as an associate professor at the University of Chicago. No wonder these kids grow up screwed up. Ziab Hajarian is the daughter of Saeed Harjarian, who played a prominent role in Iran's security and intelligence apparatus after the 1979 revolution. He was an advisor to the first Ayatollah, and he's an assistant professor, biomedical research, University of Massachusetts Lowell. So that's just three of them. There are more of these people. Lila Khatami, the daughter of former Iranian President Mohammad Khatami, teaches mathematics at Union College in Schenectady, New York. And she also we will put on some of these on another. Even we have more time. We're sort of running out of time, but this is a group here. This is a selective group of 2, 4, 5.
Yeah, we got them on the screen here.
You have them on the screen? Yeah.
We had them up while you were talking.
Lila Khatami, Zara, Moadah Damad, Fatima Ardishar Larajani must be her sister. Alicia Hashemi must be the original brother. And Kainrab Hajarian. Those are the students, at least they identified, but being educated here in America or are teaching here in America who are related to the regime. Again, one caveat: I have I've interviewed myself, but I've seen some pretty extensive interviews with children of the regime who are very anti-regime.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think these people necessarily are, but I think that is something that has to be.
That's very fair, right?
That has to be pointed out.
Very good point.
I mean, believe me, once you get out of there, you may very well have a different attitude, and you may have to carry yourself in a way that you don't give it away, because they have people here that are ready to do killings and have tried to, and have actually succeeded.
Right.
So I think the pressure now is to decide on the island and what to do about Sharjah Island. I think that what happened with the Israeli bombing was to wake them up. I think it was coordinated between the president or the militaries. I don't think it was not coordinated. And I think they liked the result because it really shook the population up. And also it is very, very beneficial to constantly be taking out their leadership. It clearly leads to much more pressure for a permanent change. So we want to ask you, please, to pray very, very intently now, because we're getting very, very close to the people for the people of Ukraine and for the people of Israel and for the people of Iran. They're all in it. They're in different wars, but they're all in this problem together. And the problem really is, and how do they connect themselves? Because one is a war with Russia and the other is a war with the reign of terror. They connect themselves because they are allies. Russia, Iran, Red China. And what goal do they have? The goal they have is to destroy America, to displace America, to remove this country, which gets so much credit and so much glory, because they can't have their communist enclave in the midst of glory. It just doesn't work. So it has to be stopped. It has to be stopped now. The longer we wait, the more they can reinforce or rebuild. Then again, there are factors here that I don't know that may argue for that kind of reverse. But I'm hoping we can overcome them by the weekend and put this behind us and put the people of Iran on a course toward freedom. Is there any better course than that? Toward freedom? Well, let me thank Ted and Rob, who did a great job tonight in putting this together.
Well, we got to thank you, Mayor. I mean,
you got any comments on?
we got to save your voice. We still have a big Friday night show.
Oh, we do. Yeah, it's coming back. We won't talk.
Well, we've yeah.
yeah.
Imagine that, us getting together and not talking, right?
So, Ted, you've done a very good job here on our put together
Studio.
Team effort.
Excellent job.
Couldn't have done it without America's mayor and Rob from Sea Caucus.
Let's have Rob say a few words.
What would be the topic?
Topic would be anything you want.
Close us out.
Close us out. Give us some appropriate words
Okay.
of closeout.
It appears. Oh, what are we getting? A camera?
Well, you go just close us out.
It appears. It appears that we may be getting what we wished for, Mayor, right? For years, we've been working on this.
Right.
Now. Everything appears to be moving in the right direction. We got the president that we absolutely needed. And although the mainstream media refuses to report things the way they're actually happening on the ground, we are winning this thing. And the chessboard is being set up in a way that's going to be very fruitful for the American people if they can just hold on a little longer. I mean, when our predecessors went to war, they went to war at the end of a bayonet on a field where they perished. You can deal with a little high gas prices for a little while. Don't worry, everybody. It's all coming back down again.
Very well said, Rob. I keep hearing even our friends, right? Oh, I had to pay $4 at the gas pump. It's like, okay, well, how about dealing with a nuclear armed terrorist state with the capability to, within a few years, potentially hit America?
Yeah, and the mayor made a great point before about the gas prices. This is where they were under Biden.
Yeah, it's not as if for us, in some parts of the world, they are extreme and will be. But some of those parts of the world, we want them to be. It's helpful to us that they are. In the case of the United States, they're within range. And I think the measures that he has outlined for the next 2 to 3 months keeps them in range. And I don't think it is going to take 2 to 3 months. I think the most important thing is unlocking the key that has the IRGC and the Quams force and the just give up that this is, and that's why taking away their leadership is so important. And there are indications now of a certain number of defections. So let's hope that continues.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very, very much for the coverage. Thanks for helping out with the voice. It'll be better for tomorrow night. I'm gonna have to cut soccer time off early tonight so that I can rest it. But again, the only way we're gonna get through this is to conquer our fears and push right through them. And we're gonna do that with the help of God. So thank you very much, God, for all that you've given America. We ask for yet another prayer for us. And we'll see you tomorrow night. God bless America.
Yeah.
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. It was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze,